What you manifest in your mind, you can bring to reality.
UFC had their first full event on ESPN Plus. So they're no longer with the Fox. They're legitimately with ESPN, which is very interesting. They started off, their first card is ESPN Plus, which is ESPN's like digital streaming service. Pretty cheap, only like $5 a month. But this took away Fight Pass. No longer Fight Pass prelims. They're all on ESPN Plus. So unless you live, let's say, in a country like Germany, then you can still watch everything on Fight Pass without having to have any cable. It just comes with the Fight Pass subscription if you lived in Germany, for say. And if you live in Germany, it's pretty nice that you can also get the pay-per-views for less than $20. So for the people that live in Germany, that's a big advantage. Not that I'm just saying that if you were to go travel to Germany or something, you'd have those, or use a thing on your computer that would make your computer seem like it's in Germany. I'm just saying there's ways that you could watch all this stuff just through Fight Pass if you lived in Germany. But that's not what this episode is about. This episode is about the UFC Brooklyn card that took place, headlined by Henry Cejudo, TJ Dillashaw. Dillashaw coming down from bantamweight at 135 down to 125 flyweight to take on Cejudo, who just beat DJ Demetrius Mighty Mouse Johnson, who no longer fights in the UFC, went over to ONE FC. And Cejudo, this is the first time defending the belt against the first time a champion's gone down in weight to try and become a double champion, which is all the rage. The most popular thing to do in the UFC is to hold two belts. And TJ was already looking past this fight, already talking about getting a third belt, going to be the first triple belt champion. Didn't happen, though, because he got potentially early stoppage. I mean, it's not the most egregious stoppage I've ever seen. He looked like he was getting pieced up. He didn't look like he was in a good way. But, maybe a Herb Dean lets that go on a little bit more, and TJ maybe gets a leg, maybe somehow is able to recover. Although against Cejudo, who's a gold medalist wrestler, with a very unique fighting style, stand-up style, which is something that's new for him. I mean, he was a wrestler forever, but now his stand-up has been improving, and especially with his new style, which is just not super unique. He has that karate style, so you do see it in some fighters, but overall, it's not the standard kind of way you're going to see a fighter. So it's interesting that he decided to go with a style like that. Also, I think the movements of it help for his wrestling as well. But he didn't even need to use his wrestling. Didn't even get that far. It was like within the first minute of the first round. 32 seconds in the first round. I mean, you watch it in slow-mo. TJ doesn't look completely out of it afterwards. He kind of looks a little wobbled. But you see how many times Cejudo lands with punches. It was just great. It was great. So good win for Cejudo. I hope they rematch at 135. I hope they keep that weight division, flyweight around. The belt, the new belt, I think looks amazing. Everybody that complains about it doesn't know what the fuck they're talking about. It looks a million times better than the old belt. Maybe a little small, but it looked great. I thought it looked great. And especially seeing that belt and then going back and looking at the old belt, it's like, duh, that looks so much better. Then Greg Hardy, the co-main event. Greg Hardy, first UFC fight, big, up-and-comer heavyweight coming from the NFL, wife beater, fucking not really that popular of an athlete, but there's a lot of, he looked exciting. He finished people I think in all 4 of his fights leading up to this. Alan Crowder, coming from the Contender Series, also was looking good. Took him into the second round, which we've never seen Hardy, and he looked gassed. He didn't look like he knew what to do off of his back, but then landed an illegal knee on Crowder, and it was DQ, which is, yeah, he's, first off, he's green. You know, he hasn't trained that much. So, you know, as far as holding back from kneeing somebody in the head, I mean, we've seen other fighters do similar things, so I don't think it's super crazy that a fighter would accidentally do that. For sure, I'm glad the way it was handled, 100%. Like, all of these, there's way too many warnings in the UFC. It's like you can do anything in the UFC and just get away with it. You can kick somebody in the balls a few times. You can grab the fence a few times. You can poke somebody in the eye a few times. You can do a lot of things a few times because most of the stuff you're just getting warnings. It's so rare that anybody gets a point taken away. But these refs need to fucking, I know it's a big thing, but they got to fucking, it's up to them. They're the only ones that can have any say, is the referees. So, you know, UFC needs to put pressure on them. The commissions maybe need to put pressure on them to be more assertive when handing out penalties. Because like any other sport, if you're out of bounds, you're out of bounds. If you commit a foul, you commit a foul. There's no warnings. You don't get warnings. It's like there's just a certain amount of fouls before you're just DQ'd. You know, you're out of the game. But they have 10 points to work with, and they rarely take away. I mean, just the loser loses a point. It's so stupid. Yeah, so Greg Hardy wasn't that impressive. Huge holes. Not that Alan Crowder is a world beater, but he showed that Greg Hardy has a long way to go. He's not going to be anything big in the UFC. He's got to get that wrestling down. Jiu-jitsu. He's like so far behind. Then the Gregor Gillespie versus Yancy Medeiros. Good fight. Gillespie just out-wrestled him. I'm curious to see when the new Ben Askren, him fighting. I haven't seen him fight, but I know he has a wrestling style. Very similar, it sounds like, statistic-wise, because Gillespie only got hit with one punch in the whole fight. And it was a decisive win, for sure. Benavidez, good fight against Ortiz. Paige Van Zant beating Rachel Ostovich. I thought Ostovich was going to win it. But Paige looked great, man. They both look very, you know, similar as far as experience-wise. But, you know, Paige is just, it's just so hard to get her out. Her toughness is what keeps her in most of the time. And she was able to survive, you know, Ostovich almost beating her, and she ended up getting a submission. Glover Teixeira, I thought he was going to lose. Old man win again. Looked great. Triangle choke. Donald Cerrone, I mean, he got hit and, you know, was able to keep going. Cerrone, didn't think looked that great at lightweight as far as just healthy-wise, but he was able to take punches and, you know, able to get it into his area and kind of turn the tables in the next round, the second round. Joanne Calderwood, JoJo 2.0. She looked great. I'm surprised she was an underdog. If I was a smart man, I would have put money on that because she just totally shut down Lipsky. Bermudez retired. Good for him. He looked good. But, you know, for sure, not his weight class. He went up in weight to lightweight. Bilal looked great. I thought he should have won. If that went 5 rounds, he would have won that. If that was like a fight night main event. It was a great fight, though. Great night of fights overall. Excited to see what happens with them in the UFC. New episodes of this show come out every day. Subscribe everywhere podcasts are found. Binge the full week over at patreon.com/inspireddisorder. Inspireddisorder.com for all of my work. At Ray Taylor for me. Have a great day, everybody. Peace out!